The speaker is Krishnamurti.
That noise of a motor.
He is a man who cannot be placed in a simple category like philosopher or religious leader. He is, however, one of the more challenging and creative men of our time. Born in South India in 1897 and educated in England, he has followed a singular and original path of thought free of factionalism and dogma.
Is it possible to keep the brain, to have a brain that is not twisted, that is not neurotic, that's very healthy, young? I'm asking that as the first question. Do you understand? I'm asking, to put it very simply, can the mind remain young and not grow old, decay, corrupt, but keep its quality of youth? Youth being, please, decision, action, and vitality. Right? That is generally accepted as the meaning of youth, to have enormous amount of energy, decision, acting, and that sense of freedom. That, I think, would more or less describe what is a young mind. Would you agree to that? Definition, you can change it. I'm not sticking to those words. But to have a mind that's extraordinarily clear, simple, having great energy, vitality, and capable of instant decision and action. Right? Would you agree to that? Yes. That's only a definition. You can change the definition. Change it how you like. But let's all agree, if you accept that, that is the quality of a mind that's young, that's not hurt, that has no problems, that is living, not in the future or in the past, but actually living in the present. And that's why, again, I said one is using words to convey the quality of a mind that is youthful. If we agree to that definition can be changed as you like. Now, how can that mind come into being? That's the first thing. The intelligence which has been spoiled by indulgence, by drugs, by alcohol, all that extravagance. And so the intelligence of the body has its own intelligence if left alone, not destroyed, not corrupted by taste, by desire, and all the rest of it. Body has its own intelligence, if you have observed it. So we'll leave that for the moment. All right, if we must go into it much deeper, we will. Our mind is the result of our senses. Right? Right? Isn't that so? This is science. This is just natural. And we exercise not the all the senses together. Right? Are you following me? But exaggerate one or two senses. And so there's never a balance. I do not know if you have experimented or watched this or aware of your senses. Either one or two senses dominate and the other senses are in abeyance or not totally functioning. And so there is always inequality, always imbalance in the activity of our senses, right? You're following all this? Please do follow this. Don't go to sleep because this is, and we are coming to it. So is it possible that all our senses work together totally harmoniously? That's the first question. And because our whole structure is based on senses, perception, taste, touch, and all that. Now, if there is imbalance in our senses, our mind is affected. Natural. And from this imbalance, there is neurotic activity. Can we see the movement of the sky, the clouds, the shadows on the mountain with all our senses together? You understand my question? Will you do it? As you are sitting there, observing yourself, please, as I said yesterday, unless you actually apply, do it, you can sit there for the next 50 years, you will do nothing. But if you apply, actually work it out, then you will see for yourself that as long as there is imbalance in the senses, the mind, which is also part of the senses, part of thought, then that imbalance invariably creates disharmony, right? Do it, please, as you observe it, actually apply. I think examples are wrong. Because you have to find out, if one gives an example, that becomes the pattern. You follow? And says, I must conform to that, or no, that pattern, that example is not good, better example, and so on. We battle with examples. I hope you understand this. I can think out an example. Sex, drugs, various forms of sensory entertainments, where only the eye or the ear functions, not the totality of all the senses. You understand all this? So, the mind, am I talking, as the gentleman pointed out the other day, I'm performing. He said that I'm performing and you're doing excellent performance. That is, which is rather an unpleasant word, but there it is. And this is a dialogue between you and me. So don't please become quiet and just listen. So that's part of the mind. When we use the word mind, sir, we are including in the mind, all the activity of the senses, all the activities of thought, all the activities of emotions, whether imagined or real, romantic, sentimental, all that. The whole of human activity is the mind. At least I look at it that way. You may look at it differently, but as we are two friends talking over together, I change my vocabulary, you change your words, but we mean the same thing. That is, the mind contains, holds all the senses, all the emotions, all the romantic, sentimental attitudes, values, and also the enormous complexity of thought, the memories, the experiences, the hurts, the wounds that one has received from childhood, psychologically, inwardly, and the intention, the motive, the drive, the desires, all that is the mind. The current is love, part of the mind. You understand the question? Is love contained in the mind? What do you say? Dialogue, please. Question A, the lady says, it is not in the mind. Then is it outside the mind? Therefore I'm asking, is love part of remembrance? You've been kind to me, I remember it, and therefore I have affection for you. Or you have, remembering. Is love a remembrance? If it is not, is it then within the structure and nature of the mind? This is a very difficult question. Please don't just slip it by. That's why I want to go into this carefully. We have defined more or less, that definition can be changed, the nature of the mind. It's all the senses, so on and so on. And all this is predominated by thought. Right? That is the central activity. Right? That controls the senses, exaggerates the senses, gives importance to certain sense and not to the others, that creates images, conclusions, aggressiveness, assertiveness. All that is the activity of thought. Right? So thought predominates all our activity, including the senses, dominating the intelligence of the body. So thought is the central factor that is constantly operating, controlling, deciding, changing, modifying, pursuing, establishing a goal and driving towards that. And the past, with all its memories, all that is, the whole of that is the activity of the mind, which is thought. Right? Meditation is part of thinking. Otherwise you won't meditate. Sitting quietly, closing your eyes, is the activity of thought. Because you want to achieve or feel good in that position, doing something. Right? So thought has brought this about through desire. No? Please, this is not very complex. I sit in that position, cross-legged, or what is called a lotus position. Close my eyes. because I have been taught, or I have read, or I have heard somebody that if you do this, you'll have a marvelous experience. I do it because I want to achieve certain experience, because I've read about it, or I've been told about it, and it gives you certain pleasure. I feel rather relieved, relaxed, right? Right? And that I maintain that, giving more and more importance to my feeling of certain pleasure, certain experience, certain state of mind. And I go on doing it. But the origin of that is the movement of thought. Why do I meditate? Why does one meditate? When we are agitated, nervous, anxious, crowded with innumerable problems, by sitting quietly, we hope to get away slightly from that. But you're missing, forgive me, you're missing my point of view, what I'm saying, which is, all this is the origin of thought. You seem to think, Madame and the others, that I'm opposed to meditation. I am totally, completely opposed to the meditation that you're all doing, because that's not meditation. As I've been through all this, the word means to think over, to ponder, to investigate, to concentrate in order to look at your problems and all that is involved in that one word. What one is doing, what is called meditation, is not meditation. All right, it's the same thing. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying what one considers meditation. If you are willing to examine what the other person has to say that's not meditation. Meditation is something much more complex, more, etc. So, but two friends talking about me, I'm not opposing you. We are talking this over. We say meditation begins with desire, with thought, right? You hear somebody from Tibet, from India, from Zen, from God knows what other place, and he expounds what meditation is. He said, do it, sit down quietly, I'll give you a system to make you calm, restful, relax. So your thought accepts it, desire to achieve it, and you sit in that position. Right? This is so obvious. What are you objecting to? So meditation begins with thought, right? And desire says, I must achieve that, something which I have experienced yesterday in the sitting quietly, and I want that. I want it to continue. I practice. I force. I follow a system. All the activity of thought. That's all. What are you objecting to? Is meditation an escape? Temporary relief? Temporary excitement? Temporary experience? Temporary quietness? All that you call meditation. My Lord, how that word has been misused. Thought is perpetually in activity. When you are sleeping, when you are awake, when you are walking, when you are by yourself, it is constantly moving. And that becomes a strain, right? That becomes nervous. And to bring about a quietness, a relief, a sense of peace, you try to meditate, quote meditation, and achieve a little bit of that. And you practice, and you call that meditation. I said that, please, that's not meditation. It's something much wider, deeper, that requires a great deal of inquiry. So please listen, exchange, not say meditation is this, meditation is that, it appeals to me, it doesn't appeal to me. That's all. We stop discussing. Whereas we say, look, let's find out. Right? When you deliberately set about to meditate, it's not meditation. Right? Because behind that deliberate act is desire. Behind that is a thought having come to a conclusion, pursuing that conclusion. We say that's not meditation. You may say you're wrong. I said, all right, let's talk it over. So thought dominates, right? That's simple and clear. No? All our activity, whether you meditate, whether you sit down, you practice, you try to force the mind to be quiet, all that is still the activity of thought. And is love the activity of thought? Right? Go on, sir. Let's talk it over. Is the activity of thought, or rather, does the activity of thought bring about right relationship between two people? Because if you haven't established right relationship with one another, you can sit on your legs crossed for the rest of your life unless you lay the foundation of relationship, having no conflict and so on, so on. Any form of meditation is just an escape into another series of illusions. So, is love the activity of thought? I love you. I really do. And it's strange. Is love the activity of the senses? Is love the activity of desire? Please find out, investigate in your life. When you're controlled, when your sex becomes all important, which is the activity of the senses, one has to be aware, sir, but first know the nature of one's mind. No, through awareness, you will discover this. That is, means you have to look at it. Look at your desires, the sensory desires, wanting food, the taste of food, the compulsive eating food of a certain kind because it tastes nice, exercising certain capacity of the eyes, optical, seeing something always, or sensory responses of sex. These are the dominant factors in our life. And you're trying to move away from that. Love contains the whole movement and the complexity of thought. You understand? But if it contains thought, is that love? You don't even go into it, look at it. Can love bring about freedom from the realm of thought? Can love free the mind from the activities of thought? What do you say? Don't look at me. What do you say? The mind is incessantly active, sleeping, waking, daydreaming, sitting quietly. When it's not under control, pop comes the thought in. So does love free the mind from the activities of thought? No. You see what you have done? You are using love as a means of escape from thought. But if you have understood the nature of thought, please follow this. And thought gives its own right place, then you don't have to move away from it. Thought has established itself in its right place. Do you understand this? Then love is not an escape or an avoidance or moving away from thought. So, as I said, when you know you are meditating, right? Sitting in that position, breathing, repeating a mantra, all that, when there is that activity, it's not meditation. I will tell you why, if you will listen. All that is the activity of desire and hope, obviously. A guru comes along. I don't know why they do, unfortunately they do. Comes along and he says, do this and you will have the most marvelous experience of God or of enlightenment. You will have extraordinary experience. And he lays down certain systems, methods, practices. And we, being gullible, not having the quality of skepticism to question him, we say, all right, Swami or Lord or what you call him, and we practice it. And in the very practicing of it, you have certain quietness, certain experience, and that delights you. You say, at last, I've got something. Right? And I say, that is the activity of desire. Activity of thought which has projected an image of something to be experienced. And that image can be experienced only through certain practices, certain repetition of words, especially in Sanskrit, that sounds far better. And so you repeat it. But it is still the activity of thought and desire. So, unless you understand this, that what is the nature of thought, what's the nature of desire, gone into it, given its right place, thought gives itself its right place, then you'll be everlastingly battling with thought, with all the images that it has created. That's very simple. When he's asked, when there is thought, is there love? No. Is psychoanalysis a form of meditation? Do you know what psychoanalysis is? Investigating into the past. Psychoanalysis. Analyzing oneself, either by the professional, psychotherapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, Freudian, Jungian, Adlerian, or names innumerable, or you investigate yourself, analyze yourself. Huh? Who is the analyzer? And what is he analyzing? He is not the analyzer, the analyzed. So he's playing a trick on himself. You don't see all this. So analysis, either psychotherapeutic, of various group therapies, all that's going on, various forms of psychotherapy is not meditation, good Lord. Think what we have reduced meditation to. When you put yourself in the hands of another who will teach you how to meditate, it is not meditation. When you follow a system, it is not meditation. When you accept the authority of another and say, I know you don't know, I will tell you what to do, it's not meditation. And so on, so on, so on. You're walking in the wood quietly, not carrying all the burdens of your problem. Suddenly you have a certain sensation, feeling, and you're watching it, and thought comes over and takes charge and says, makes it a memory and wanting it more. All that's not meditation. If, look, sir, have you observed that way? Pure observation. To observe without remembrance, without naming, without a conclusion, just to observe. There is a thought or there is thinking which is unconditioned. Is there a thought which is not conditioned? Is there a thought which is not limited? There may be, but I wouldn't call it thought. Right? Thought, as is generally understood, is the process of thinking. Thinking is the movement of memory, movement of experience, movement of knowledge. The whole process of that is thinking. Intuition can be projected by desire. We went into the question that our mind contains, or is the result of, the senses, the emotions, crooked, sane, irrational, illusory, and so on, the sentiments, the judgments, the evaluations, the memories, the hurts, the anxieties, all that, which is under the umbrella of thought. Thought is the central factor. And as thought is the result of knowledge, and knowledge is always limited, and therefore with knowledge goes ignorance, thought is fragmented, broken up, limited. And when thought says, I must meditate, I must find out truth, I must achieve enlightenment, thought is playing games with itself. That's obvious. So meditation has nothing to do with thought. When you sit down and deliberately meditate, it may be pleasant, it may give you certain relaxation, you may have certain pleasurable experience, but all that is a deliberate action by thought and desire to achieve a certain result. Therefore, that's not meditation. And what is the relationship of thought to love? That's what you're asking me now. Love, this becomes rather difficult. Love is free from thought. Love is not the product of thought. If it is, it's still part of desire, obviously. So love is independent, is free from all the activities and chicanery, dishonesty, desires, sensations, sex. That's not love. Where love is, the me is not, obviously. The me, the ego, with all its arrogance, conceits, aggressiveness, humility, humility rather, all that is the ego. What has that got to do with love? You understand? So love is beyond thought. Now, then, what is the relationship between meditation and love. When one deliberately, purposefully, actively participates in the so-called meditation, that meditation leads to illusion, and that illusion has no relationship with love. But there is a meditation, if you are interested in it, which is not deliberate, which has nothing whatsoever to do with desire. There is a meditation which must be totally undesired, totally free of thought. And to find that meditation, I'm not offering as a reward if you're interested in it. You have to go into the question of desire, give it its right place, whether desire has any place at all, and also thought has to find its own place and remain there. Then meditation becomes something totally different from what you're doing. That is, one has to find out what is reality and what is truth. Reality is also illusion. You understand? Reality are these mountains, the hills, the groves, the meadows, the river. That's reality. You can see it. And also reality is all the illusions, like nationality, like your beliefs, your dogmas, your rituals, your saviors, your Krishnas, your all that. Those are all illusions. They may have existed, might. But what we have made of them is illusion. That's a reality. Going to a church, into a temple, in a mosque, that's a reality. That's all the product of thought, right? Of course. So, reality has to be understood, seen. Reality, everything that thought has created, the atom bomb, it exists, atom exists before thought investigated and created the bomb. Thought did not create nature, but thought has used nature. The chair one is sitting on is made by thought out of wood. And reality has nothing, truth has nothing whatsoever to do with reality. That, to find that is meditation. To begin to establish a right relationship with human beings, not the everlasting battle between sexes, between human beings, between killing each other, terrorizing each other, destroying the earth, and so on and so on. If we don't stop that, what's the good of your meditation? So first, you have to be good. By your goodness, you bring about a good society. And if you are not good inside, good. I'm using that word specifically because it's not the goodness, be a good child. I don't mean that. We'll go into perhaps tomorrow or another day. But if there is not goodness in you, you cannot produce good society. And without goodness in you, you can meditate till you doomsday. Go to India, go to Tibet, where you visit various monasteries and attend various gurus who say this and who deny that. Play that game if it amuses you. But don't deceive yourself saying that's meditation, I'm meditating. So if you have no love in your heart, what your meditation will be destructive.